All right. Are y'all ready to party? Yo, are y'all ready to party? It's going to be a fun episode because it's something that I love to do. I like to be OCD. I am pretty OCD. And because of my OCD, I track pretty much everything in my life religiously. There are people who track more than I do, but I think I try to track a lot of what matters. So this episode is about what I track and why I do it and the insights that it gives me. This is episode number 16 of the Edward Show. Holy moly. We are 16 days into this daily podcast. This is wild. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Edward Sturm. We're going to have a fun time. So, here is what I track. And I track these things every day. A lot of my friends think I'm crazy for tracking this much. I think I'm crazy for tracking this much. But the value that I get from putting in all of this work into tracking far outweighs the work. Far outweighs the time, far outweighs the effort. The value that I put in to tracking my life outweighs the effort. Some of the things that I get from tracking so much, and I'll talk about this more, is I can see my growth. I can see what's working. I can see what's not. I can constantly stay abreast of the forest and not get caught up in the trees. That helps a lot. I can figure out my values faster, so I don't waste as much time on things that don't matter. I have a time machine. Like, I have an actual time machine. I can go and relive exciting parts of my life. That's crazy. I have a freaking time machine. And I can figure out mistakes so I can avoid them in the future and figure out what works so I can double down on them in the future. And it keeps me happy. So those are the benefits. Here's what I track. Here's what I track each day. I post videos on TikTok daily. I haven't missed a day since November 1st. Since November 1st, when I started writing at the same time every morning my TikTok follower growth, tracking that number. And so I could correlate different spurts. The growth on my TikTok channel, I have like 35,000 plus followers. Growth has not been linear at all. It's come in huge spurts. And each of those spurts I could attribute to a different lesson that I learned. And when I look back on this graph, I can figure out why I've plateaued and then work on not plateauing and double down on what I learned that gave me some of my early spurts. I can also see if I'm wasting my time. Is this a channel that I should discontinue? I don't think it is. But if I plateaued for very long, maybe I would consider it, or I would really need to change things up, a big pivot. But I would see that. What's the quote? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing every day and expecting change. And by tracking my growth on TikTok, I avoid that. So that's something that I track. This one is very crazy. I pretty much track everything I do, like everything interesting that I do in a single day. So what I do, who I meet, where we meet, what the person I meet does, the person's name, and just everything that I do with that person. I have this crazy journal. I spent the last 4 years living outside the United States, living in so many different countries. I have this crazy time machine where I can go back and I can say, okay, so, today is July 21st. What was I doing July 21st, 2021? I can tell you off memory that I was living in Kiev in Ukraine, but I couldn't tell you what I did. And I could look back on this journal. I could tell you exactly what I did. If I watched a movie that day, I would know. If I played a video game that day, I would know. If I had some crazy business accomplishment that day, I would know. If I went and I had coffee with my friend Dominic, it would be there. And I have all of that tracked. And it's so useful for many reasons, which I previously discussed and which I'll talk about again. And it's so useful. And a lot of my friends think I'm so crazy for tracking this much. but I'm so grateful that I've been doing this. And then second last is, I recommend this on a bunch of pods. I'm going to continue to recommend this. Daily stream of consciousness journaling, or even just like daily, like just write out incomplete thoughts and ideas. And I sort that by different days. July 21st, July 21st, 2023, July 20th, 2023. And then I put all of those into folders by years, so they're easy to go back. And then the documents where I really have epiphanies, I give a color code and I write on the title of the file what I learned. And that's been very helpful for me to go back upon like epiphanies that I had in 2020, 21 or something. That's been very, very helpful. Doing the stream of consciousness journaling has been very helpful, and being able to go back and learn from different thoughts that I've had, different epiphanies that I've had, that's really helped me as well. The final thing is pictures. You know, we all take pictures on our phones. Very few of us actually go back and organize them and go back and sort through them. We let them collect digital dust. I don't do that. I go back I would say once a quarter, I will carve out 25 minutes a day for as many days as it takes. Commit to editing through all of the photos that I've taken since my last session. So maybe that would be 4 months or 3 months worth of photos to go back through. And I'll sit there and I'll do that 25 minutes a day until I complete that. And I'll have cut my photos down and put them into folders organized by years. I also will tag the faces of who appears in the photos so I can sort for people. I think being able to go back on your memories, relive memories, is very helpful. It allows me to stay grateful. I do that with all of my journals, and I do that with photos. And that also, like, if I go back on my journal and I say, oh, this is what I was doing on July 21st, 2020 or 2021, maybe there's a picture with that. And I can go and look at my photos and find out. It helps me relive those times that I'm so grateful that I've had. And so many of us have amazing times in our lives, incredible joy, and we can barely remember it. And to me, that's a shame. To me, that's a shame to have it so those memories, they just fade into oblivion. And then you're left with the present. And if you're unhappy in the present, you can't remember how much better things can be because they were. And when I look at that and I'm feeling down, I'm like, oh yeah, things don't have to be this way. I'm the master of how I feel. And on these days, I was feeling great. And I can do that again. Or maybe I felt good here because I was doing this. Maybe I need to do that again. And it can give me all sorts of different revelations. And so, yeah, I can see where I'm growing and where I'm stagnating. I can see the forest. I can see the overarching themes in my life and where I'm going. And maybe if I need to change course, but I'm less likely to get distracted for what the trees are. I stay grateful. This is so helpful for staying grateful. Writing down what you do each day. So amazingly helpful for being grateful. Looking at mistakes, so I'm less likely to make them again. I've said this over and over again on this podcast. I don't think I have the best intuition, but my intuition has gotten a lot better because I'm very consistent and hardworking, and I'm willing to fail. And because when I do fail, I write about it, it makes those lessons stick a lot more. It's crazy to me when I meet people and they tell me, yeah, that didn't work out. I'm like, did you write down why it didn't work? They're like, no, just put it all in my head. And that, to me, that's crazy. That happened last night. I went to some tech event. It wasn't that great. The guy kind of messed up. And I said, you know, he's like, he told me after, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry that it ended up this way, but I learned a lot. And I'm like, cool. Do you, like, you know, you do these events often. Do you go and you write down what you learned? And he's like, nope, just store it all up in here. And he tapped on his head. And I'm like, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, that's silly, man. First of all, you're drinking at this event, so you're less likely to remember things. Second of all, it's a month in between events. You're going to forget some things. Homie. And so you got to, to me, it's just, you got to write things down. I improve so much from this constant introspection. I'm so grateful for it. I'm going to continue doing it. It's great to be able to share stories with friends who are in them from years ago. There's so many benefits to this. And my advice to you, if you're listening and you don't do any of this, start with one thing, become consistent with it for half a year, and then add something else. I didn't start by organizing my life all at once. I started with one thing and then other things stacked. And to me, it's made such an enormous difference. It's why I'm able to have like the crazy output that I have in terms of like putting out several videos a day, a daily podcast, a weekly newsletter, live streaming, pictures, articles, so much, daily events. And it's because over time I've just become incredibly organized and write down everything that I learn and everything that I do, and it helps me a lot. Anyway, I love doing this. I hope you try it. This is episode number 16 for The Edward Show. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. The sun is shining. And I'm actually about to head out into Manhattan. I'm going to have a nice day. So I hope all of you have a nice day as well. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.